Upset city in the Big Five as Villanova goes down to Temple. And not only did we get one court storming, we got two. What a fantastic outing in this one. 68-64 in the final, the first loss under Neptune's reign for Villanova. And it was a pretty good game, to be honest. Being without Justin Moore, who's out indefinitely with a torn Achilles, and then Cam Whitmore, who was out with a right thumb, really put Villanova in a tough spot. And Temple took advantage and won this game, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Whitmore loss could have more short-term implications because how that's going to affect the shooting. But I think the impact of this loss is more regional within the Big Five there in Philadelphia because, Villanova, Temple, LaSalle, St. Joe's, Penn, they play every year in non-conference games. And back in the day, when I was just a toddler, before they even had color TV, these were really, really important games year in. You're generally played more closer to the Christmas thing. So I think there's going to be more of an impact in the Philly media and the Philly papers and among fans of the Big Five. Certainly for Temple fans, this is going to be their tournament championship, if you will, because I don't think Temple's going to make too much noise, big time. And for Villanova, it had to happen. Eventually, they're going to lose. The composition was going to come up. And I know that you want to talk about that a little bit more in depth. But, okay, now it's out of the way. So Neptune could say, okay, fine. Okay, we lost. Let's go on.
Right. And that's an interesting factor. And then with Neptune, we were interested to see how he would handle his first big loss. And this is really, you can consider this a big loss because it was against a non-ranked opponent. It was against a rivalry, as you said. And this is something that he is probably going to always remember as long as he remains in reign of Villanova. And we have seen in Villanova that if you become a coach here, you usually stay for a pretty long time. We saw it with Jay Wright. We saw it with his successor. Villanova, I think it's something wild, like in a 100-year span, only 3 coaches have been around. It's wild. So you would expect that Neptune would probably be around for a good minute as well. Regardless, I was curious to see how he would handle the pressers, if you will, after the loss. And he did a good job. He did exactly what I would expect from him. I'm interested to see what happens when it eventually happens with Duke as well. But yeah, he did a good job. It's not like it's his first time coaching, right? Like we saw him coach with Fordham last year. We saw him be an assistant with Villanova for years. So it's not like this is anything new. But just being in the helm of a really important Big East team, if not all in the nation. Villanova is one of the top premier basketball programs in all of college basketball. So just seeing how he acted was interesting to me. And I'm glad that it was in a positive light, if you will. I'm not sure if everyone feels that way, but I feel like he handled it great. And I think that that's something that you can keep just one positive, if you will, out of this one. I'm sure they'll find a way to rebound. I wouldn't be too concerned about this Villanova squad. I think they do have some good aspects with them. They look good against LaSalle. We'll see them soon at the end of the month against Michigan State. We'll see them against Iowa State as well. So they'll be able to play against some tough defensive matchups. I think we can see some rebounds against that as well. As for Temple, though, I think they have some aspects to really do some difference. I think they have a good game against Rutgers coming up that they could really make some noise. I think Temple, now, granted, they're in the American, and Houston's basically won that before the first tip-off of the year already started, right? But I think there's an opportunity that Temple could at least make some noise to get themselves in consideration to maybe have a good seed in the conference tournament and find themselves find themselves in March with an NCAA tournament or maybe at least an NIT. They didn't look like a bad team. I know that we've seen, they didn't look good against Wagner. They lost in overtime, and that was obviously a surprise. But Vanderbilt is their next game. Vanderbilt's been kind of shaky so far under Stackhouse this year. And then they head to Rutgers for that Hall of Fame showcase game. And then St. John's, Drexel, LaSalle. They have an opportunity, I think, to leave this month of November with maybe only 2 losses, a 4-2 record. And that's really a good sign heading into American play once we get to the beginning of the year, Steve.
Yeah, and I think for Temple, I think an NIT bid is a realistic goal.
Sure.
I mean, you never want to limit yourself. You never want to say, oh, never say never. But, for Temple, if they can go to the NIT, and win a couple of rounds. I mean, that's a big boost for this program. The Temple is kind of reimagining their basketball program. They had Cheney for so long, and I just think they just lost their direction to a degree. And and within the Philly market, a win against Villanova, now suddenly all the Temple fans are coming out of the woodwork. I meant to tune in to Philly sports radio over the weekend because I could only imagine what was going on with that after Villanova lost, between the Temple fans coming out and basically saying, "Oh, we're going to the Final Four," and the Villanova fans saying, "Well, it doesn't really matter. It's not conference, and we have this injury, that injury." But this is what makes college basketball non-conference special. These regional, either in-city, in-state rivalries that have been minimized by expanding conferences and TV contracts. They don't want you necessarily playing LaSalle or Temple or St. Joe's. They want you playing, on an aircraft carrier, or they want you playing, in a big invitational. But for the fan base, for the local people that are the die-hard Villanova and Temple fans, this was a big, big game. And either way, win or lose, it's an important game, and it gives people something to talk about, around the water cooler, when you're having a few beverages with some friends. It just gives, bragging rights to one side, but it has a nice conversation to bring these people back into football.
Villanova
basketball, not football, but basketball.
That's no worries. Villanova will look to rebound against Delaware State, who got blown out at the beginning of the year by Virginia Tech. So should be a pretty, I don't want to call it easy, but should be a good win for them on that one. Then they head to the tip-off games to play Michigan State and the Phil Knight Invitational later on in the month against Iowa State. It's only the second game of the year. Completely understand, but Villanova fans, I think you have a standard there. Are you concerned at all about the Neptune reign, if you will, or the loss against Temple? Let us know in the comments below. What do you think about the team so far and your thoughts moving into the rest of November? Just let us know in those comments below.